Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel, or if you are new here, welcome. Yes, this has been delayed for a long time. I was busy on New Year's Eve when it was going to be, but then we kept pushing it, but we're finally doing the stream tonight. I finally had time on my plate. I'm able to do our stream tonight. And this is one I'm very excited about. We did our best movies of 2022. Now we get to shit on some movies from 2022. We are doing our worst movies of the year. And oh boy, we have
Because for every Top Gun Maverick, you had to deal with a dash cam.
Yep.
For every RRR, there was a Morbius.
Oh man. It was definitely there. Like, a lot of people will tell you that this is a great year for horror, but there was also a lot of stinkers this year in that category, as well as
a couple of them, sadly, I watched because I knew how much Michael hated them.
Yep. And now he hates them just as much as I do. And there was one horror movie, I only got to catch up on one, that I'm still debating whether it's in my list or not, because it's like literally number 11 and 10. It keeps on jumping back and forth. But it was that bad enough to be around 11 or 10. So we will definitely get to our lists here now, and it'll be interesting to see if this one goes as long, guys, as our best of, because our best of list, we were so enthusiastic about every film we talked about and one spent hours talking about them. But then also at the same time, while we hate these films, it's fun to shit on them. So it could very easily just be as long or not. We will have to wait and see. But
also, we're down to 2 people versus 3.
That's true. Just 2 versus 3 people. But Aiden says, I'm so hyped for this video. Good to hear, man. I am very hyped to get this show on the road finally.
And we're hyped to give this to you.
And as usual, how it will go is we will start from our 10, and then we'll work our way down to 1, sharing each of our different films that we absolutely hate and talk about them, even if it's ones we haven't seen. We'll kind of go into detail talking about why we hate them and so on and so forth. So
and don't worry, I will give you any spoilers that you need to know about these movies, so you don't need to see these movies to know how bad they are.
Yes, we are going to save you guys the pain, because there are some movies on this list that we are going to share spoilers for, because they are just that bad that we can't not talk spoilers. So since you are our special guest tonight, I will let you kick off the list. But give us some of your dishonorable mentions first.
Hold on, let me. These aren't in order or anything. One of them was Death on the Nile. I just thought that it was an okay at best horror movie. They literally kill off Gal Gadot. That like the most attractive woman in this. One of the most attractive women in Hollywood. They just kill her off. And there was the 355, which I felt was it would have been on my list, but it did have some exciting parts, but a lot of it just felt boring and long to me. It just felt like a lot of talking, and it was just bloated, as well as I forget the name of it. There was this. It was the World War II movie that I wanted to, that I was recommending to you last year.
Oh yeah, the Munich, The Edge of War, or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It and it's some good moments, but this movie was just way too long. This movie was like 2.5 hours. This movie could have been 2 hours max, maybe an hour and 45 to an hour and 50 minutes. If they did that, you would have had a solid little movie. But I just felt there for so many times. I'm like, come on, let's get to the point. Let's hurry up. Let's get to where we need to be. And it just when we get there. And another one I really didn't like is Fire Island for some reason.
Oh really?
I
Wow.
just felt a lot of the gay characters are just stereotypes.
Well, I mean, they are actually gay actors, so they are acting maybe a lot like what they are like. That's one thing I actually liked is that you got different kinds of gays. You had your gay that was like, super flamboyant. You had your gay who was more like your kind of booky, kind of just nerd, awkward guy. You had like a more chunky but like fun loving kind of gay. You had your gay who was more like the cool bro type guy. So you had like all the different kinds of gays, in my opinion. I thought it was
Perhaps I only remember certain scenes, but all I remember was literally stereotypes for some reason. But again, it was higher up, so it wasn't bad. It had it did have some good moments. Hold on, let me go back to the letterbox, see if there's any big ones that I'm forgetting. Ah, my last one, Halloween Ends. This movie was literally felt like a romantic comedy or a romantic drama for the first like 45 to 50 minutes, and then they're like, "All right, it's a horror movie," and they give you some scares. It's like, this is not what we wanted to see in the last movie in the Halloween series.
Yeah, it was I am one of those very, very few. I get I'm in the minority. I am one of those very rare defenders of Halloween Ends. I thought like I respected the bold choices the film had to make. I thought the commentary was really good about society and how society can push someone to an over the edge and a bunch of different stuff like that. Um and I've seen it twice now, and I actually enjoyed it more the second time because that's what Aiden says here. He says, "I used to like Halloween Ends, but multiple viewings have made me like it less and less." It's actually the opposite for me. I actually have liked it even more on a rewatch. Um, so I don't know. But I know I'm clearly in the minority on that. That's like somewhere in the middle of my list. It's not near the bottom. Um, but my dishonorable mentions. Oh, the first one I'm gonna this is in no particular order, guys. First one I want to mention is uh is the film Hotel Transylvania Transformania. That was just bad. Like I remember I gave up after like the first or second Hotel Transylvania. Never even watched the one after that, and I watched this one, and I was like, okay, why did I watch this? Because it was so bad. I just didn't like it whatsoever. Um, and then the other one, it's funny that Ben Shapiro complains that the Batman is a bad comic book movie when he produced The Hyperions, which has to be one of the worst superhero films I've ever seen in my life. This film and it's unfortunate because it stars Carrie Elwes, And this is a Daily Wire film. Back when Daily Wire was, doing their movies for free on YouTube, I would tune in because they were free on YouTube. I was like, okay. So I tuned in and watched them. And it's just, this was bad, from like the writing to the directing to just all sorts of different things. Like, it just wasn't good. Um, and and it made no sense. Like, I literally reached the ending of the film and I was like, wait, was this whole film a dream or not? Like, what just happened? I'm so confused. It was like I didn't even get what even happened. Like, they didn't make it clear at all. Was not a fan of that one. There's a film called Uma I watched this year. I have a review up on my channel with my mom. During that review, I liked it a little bit more, but the more I sat on it, the more this movie was just terrible. I uh this is a PG-13 horror movie. I watched it with my mom, and Uma stands for mom. That's why I watched it with her. But um and it's unfortunate because it's got the actors in here is Sandra Oh, and then it's also got Fivel Stewart from that one show, Atypical, one of my favorite Netflix shows. So when I saw that they were both in this, I was like, oh, I have to see this. And it was just such a disappointment. There's literally a scene. This film is so jump scary. There's a there's a scene in this movie where a girl grabs a sword. She's literally just grabbing a sword or something, or like a garden tool off of a wall, and it does a like jump scare sound, and it's like, what? Like, I literally sat there being like, what? I was like, what was the point in that? I'm like, that's not a jump scare. It was so bad. I was like, what? So,
It almost sounds like a sound effect in a Looney Tunes cartoon.
I know, right? It's just so bad. It was like terrible. And then the movie Samaritan was a bore fest. And this film has and it's unfortunate because this film has Sylvester Stallone. And when you say Sylvester Stallone is playing a superhero in a superhero film, that gets me pumped. And then I watch it, it's just boring. And then to me, I also thought, uh, as far as one of the bigger films, I thought Uncharted wasn't good. Thor: Love and Thunder, I wasn't really a fan of. The Gray Man, I thought that was a bore fest. Um, and then there's this one called Deadware, where it's like these two people are playing like a computer game or something like that, and it's like and it's in 1999, and the computer looks like today's era type stuff. It's
Yeah,
not that good.
I've
Um,
watched them. I like Deadware. I like that. I liked Uncharted. I thought Thor: Love and Thunder was okay. Was okay, but Thor: Love and Thunder is probably my least favorite of those tunes of those three that you mentioned that I have seen.
yeah, it was, yeah. That's just, to me, it was just not that great. So yeah, that's my some dishonorable mentions I'll throw out there. There's some other ones I could think of that I'm looking on my list here, but not enough to really write home into a
Mhm.
film in our worst. But um, those are some of my dishonorable mentions. But before we get to that, we'll take some of your uh comments here. Aiden says Corey beating Michael Myers is worse than Buster Rhymes beating the crap out of Myers. Yeah, that was, I mean, no, it wasn't worse than that to me. I thought the trick or treat motherfucker from Resurrection made that like even worse because it had the bad pickup line, or the bad, not pickup line, but the bad line. The whole like, you have something I want is not as bad as trick or treat, motherfucker. So so yeah, I no. All right. So anyways. Oh, and then also so I'm going back and forth between the two. Uh But right now, I'm going to do it this way. My dishonorable mention is The Invitation. That's my last dishonorable mention. This is a horror film, a vampire horror film that was like really boring and uninteresting. The only reason that it's like it was in my 10, but I bumped it to a dishonorable mention. The only reason why is the atmosphere at least maybe looked a little interesting. Like it looked, the atmosphere of it felt, you know, like gothic horror, like a vampire supposed movie is supposed to feel. So at least it had that going for it. Everything else in the movie though was not good. So and I heard the unrated cut's better. I haven't seen that. I might watch that at some point, but yeah, it wasn't that great, but my list is definitely, looking at my list now, the top like 10 is definitely going to be different. There's going to be a lot of films you guys haven't seen that are on my list, so it's definitely going to be very interesting. But I'm curious to know what is your number 10, Andrew?
My number 10 is one of your honorable mentions, and that is Hotel Transylvania Transformania. This movie is so bad they couldn't even pay Adam Sandler enough money to come back. Like, and when Adam Sandler is too good for your movie, then you've got a problem. When the person who made Jack and Jill says no, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And the reason it's number 10 is there's nothing really like sin worthy in this movie. It's not like painful, you know, it's not that level. It's just predictable and it can be very, very boring. That's all. And yeah, it was just bad enough to make my cut. This was definitely a January movie that felt like a January kids movie, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
But when like you knew exactly what was going to happen and when it was going to happen.
Yeah, it was very predictable.
Like yes, yes. If they took a little more risk and they avoided a few cliches, maybe it could have avoided my top 10. Maybe it could have been or maybe it would have been like an honorable mention or something. But the way that it is, I'm sorry. This has to be in my top 10.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. This is like, it was in no particular order, but this is like very, very close to being in my top 10 because this film was just bad. This is just not, I mean, at least me, like the only reason it was not my top 10 is I watched it with some friends and like we didn't even really watch the movie. Like the movie was playing, we knew what was happening, but we were like talking throughout. And it was just kind of, which is a sign of a bad movie, but at least we had an engaging conversation during it. And that's what kept us engaged. But it was like, yeah, it was not good at all. My number 10. So I remember after I went to go see the Jaws 3D like remaster that they did.
Good movie, I saw it.
It was excellent. I love the remaster and everything. I was like, you know what? I'm in the mood for like shark movies. And so I saw Tubi, the streaming service, had their own original. They do like their own original films. And they had an original on there called Shark Bait. So I decided to watch Shark Bait, and this was awful. Like, how hard is it to make a good shark movie? Like, come on, people. You've got there a plot here. First off, the tagline says terror runs deep. And then the plot says a group of friends enjoy. I am getting a phone call. Hold up. Okay. Cool. Sorry about that. Anyways, a group of friends enjoying a weekend steal a couple of jet skis, racing them out to sea, ending up in a horrific head-on collision. They struggle to find a way home with a badly injured friend while from the waters below the predators lurk. So it's like they're stuck on a jet ski in the water with a shark underneath the water, who, by the way, it's a terribly CGI'd shark, like awful CGI.
Wait, they're trapped on a jet ski?
Yeah, they're trapped on a jet ski.
How many people are there?
There's 3 in the movie. There's 3 of them all stuck on a no wait, there's 4 of them. Because there was 2 jet skis. They took 2 jet skis and apparently what, both broke down or something? Like, that's totally plausible that both conveniently at the exact same time would break down. And then like so they end up all being on one jet ski, and they're trying to like stay together on one jet ski. And I usually like these kind of one location tense horror movies. But this one was just not good. The characters were awful. You find out like reveals about like how one character had an affair with another one, and it's like they try to put all this like soap opera stuff in there, and it's like, I don't want this. This is a shark movie. Give me shark stuff. Like, come on, people.
It doesn't sound like hard. You are not looking for a high art.
Yeah. I like one character, like they talk about like they see something floating in the water and they're like saying, "Oh, that might help us." And then one character is like they asked one person to go get it because she didn't have any injuries or anything, and then or something like that. And she says, I don't know how to swim." I'm like, bitch, you went on a jet ski trip. You went into the deep ocean and you don't know how to swim? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what? It was so bad.
They did the same thing in Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, I just don't get it at all. It was horrible. And so, yeah, Shark Bait on Tubi, not a good one. You know a film is bad when, because Tubi has like those ads that always pop up, and you know a film is bad when I was looking more forward to the ads than the movie itself. So that's when you know a film's bad. So that is my number 10 is Shark Bait. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is a movie that honestly, this specific reason I put this as number 9. It is Barbarian. And
Wow.
why is this number 9? And why is number 9? Well, here's why. The first 45 minutes as I'm watching this movie, the first 45 minutes are quite good. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And then stuff happens literally like shortly after that I'm like, why couldn't we have just stayed where we were going? Because this was good. I haven't talked to a friend as I was getting to that part, and they're like, everything changes, everything changes at this part. And it becomes not as good. And I got good nervous, and a character gets introduced that I literally loathed. That I know you're supposed to make characters that you want to see him killed off, but come on. In a horror movie, you're at least supposed to give characters some form of like redeemability or something about them that, hey, maybe I don't want you to die. But this
Well,
character, I'm like, kill
my
him off right now.
my biggest issue, you're talking about Justin Long's character, right? The one that had the sexual accusations against him and everything.
Yes.
Because for me, my biggest issue with the film is I believe that if you really work at it hard enough, there is redemption for someone who even did something like that. If they show signs that they actually regretted it and they actually have all that stuff. And so like the way the film plays out, it sounds like he's like saying like there's that whole scene where he's like, maybe I'm a bad person. Or am I just a good person who's thinking and all this stuff? And he's like keeps on and he's like looks like he's emotional. He looks like he's genuinely sorry. And then you're like, oh wow, okay, maybe this guy is gonna be redeemed. Maybe he's gonna have a redemption arc. And then at the end, he throws her off the building, and it's like, oh no,
Exactly.
he's just a
I
douche. Like
I
always, there was
could have
no
liked him. I could have liked him if they find the redemption arc and they give him a nice little redemption and they said, hey, he's not as bad. That I would have liked. But come on. And the person that dies in the first half, the guy that dies in the first half, I actually liked him.
Oh yeah. What's funny is I kept on thinking he was involved the entire time, and
I
then
thought so too.
that it was like that even when he went down there, I was like, oh, lady, you're screwed. He's involved. This whole thing. He's yelling at you to have you go in there, and he's gonna like do something bad because I didn't watch any of the trailers or anything, so I didn't know if there was any beast monster that popped up in the trailers or not. But whenever I saw this movie, I thought it was going to be him as the big villain, and then what happens to him, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess he's not. That was like a big shock. It
So
was like,
I was really not a fan of this movie. Like, and what made it number 9 is that had potential. I really enjoyed that first half, and I'm like, if they kept it going in this direction, it could have been great.
yeah,
It could have been like close to the top of my list. But they had to go in this direction that thoroughly disappointed me in the end. That is what pushed it down to number 9 in my books.
yeah, I can totally understand that. Ross says would have worked better as anthology, and yeah, I mean I could probably agree with that. Where an anthology is like where I think that would have been better. Even though I was a fan of Barbarian, it would have made a great anthology where because like an anthology is different stories throughout the film. So like if there was like the lady story, then maybe they showed something else that happened at the same Airbnb with another guy, and then they showed another character, and then something happened to him in the Airbnb. And it was just an anthology of like everything that happened at one Airbnb with these different
That
characters.
that would have been actually pretty good. I think I would have enjoyed that even more.
Yeah, rather than it trying to connect it all together. I feel like that's could have been where some of the weaknesses may have lied, um but yeah, I was a fan of that one, but I can definitely understand why you weren't. For me, my number 9, again, one that y'all haven't heard of. This is one of the first uh films I watched in 2022 called Old Strangers. This is a VOD film. It says 3 friends reconnect in a secluded mountain town after a long quarantine. While out for a hike, the trio stumble upon something dark and terrible in the deep woods. And what's that dark and terrible thing in the deep woods? Nothing, because you don't see it or you don't ever get any reference towards it. It's literally like all of a sudden their friend is acting crazy cuckoo or whatever, and he like gets like all splinter that makes him go crazy cuckoo or whatever, and he's like, and it's like, oh, that's the thing in the woods, a crazy splinter that's making their friends go crazy cuckoo. I don't know even know what the fuck happened in this movie. It was so bad that I was like, okay, this is like not at all interesting. It was like 62 minutes. That's why I watched it. I was like, oh, 62 minutes. That's very quick. That's very breezy. That's really an hour and 2 minutes. I could watch this in no time. I want that hour and 2 minutes back, damn it. Like
And it's probably
so
the
bad.
shortest movie that you've seen this year, and you want your time back.
Yes, it is the shortest film that I've seen in 2022, minus, of course, like short films, but it's the shortest film I've seen in 2022. Yet I want my time back because it was horrible. Um, I just was not a fan of this one at all. Just so boring, just nothing happening. And like when I heard it was sci-fi, I was like, oh, cool, sci-fi kind of thing. That's cool. Where was the sci-fi? There was nothing there. Like, and it can sometimes work, like the Blair Witch Project. You know, you never see the witch, you never see any of that type of stuff. But like, there's a sense of dread. There's a sense of like terror going out. These are just friends who are like, yo, there's something up with this place. I don't know. I don't like it. We should leave. Okay, why do y'all want to leave? I don't see any signs of anything bad enough to where y'all need to leave. Like, what? like, I'm like, I don't, this is just, it was so bad. I just
So,
was not a fan of that one.
so it's not like Paranormal Activity where like shit's like falling in the house. The house is shaking. It's not like
Yeah. Like, you never see the ghost in that one, but it's very clear there's something there because it's dragging people, it's doing all that type of stuff, yet they're still staying in the house. But with this, it's like, oh, I'm a crazy guy. I got a splinter in me that's like an alien splinter thing. And it made me go crazy. And I left the house. But I'm back, guys. I'm back at the house. You're good now. And everything. And they're like, but why were you gone? It's very suspicious that you were gone. All this stuff. And it's like, just people leave. How is that suspicious? People can go on walks. It's like what the hell?
how long is this person gone?
I mean, I think he was gone for like a whole day. Granted, but like, okay, sure. If he's gone for 3 days, you freak out. But like, if you're on a camping resort, he could like go if you wanted to go camping in the tents or something in a tent out in the woods. He could do that. It's just it was so bad, so forgettable. I was just I hated every minute of it. So Old Strangers is my number 9.
Sounds like a movie that if we could have written a better script for a movie on here in 2 hours.
Yeah. And we could have made it the same time length, 62 minutes, and we could have actually made it a well-paced 62 minutes because it's bad when you have a film that's 62 minutes and you feel like you're sitting on your ass for like 2.5 hours.
Here's the question: how long were the credits?
I think the credits were like only a couple minutes. So like the film was actually like 60 minutes.
It's like the credits they were 10 minutes. So literally, this was a 52-minute movie.
Oh my lord. It's yeah, it just it was so bad. Um what's your number 8?
My number 8 is a movie that is beloved in this group, but by a certain member. I'm talking about the magnum opus of Sony, Morbius.
Oh yeah.
Morbius was just not a good movie, and unlike movies like the Venom movies where they're fun, Hey, it's funny, it's fun, Don't think about it. You're gonna have fun. This didn't even have that going for it. This was just not a good movie. I think Jared Leto is like the kiss of death for movies at this point. If you put him in a movie, very likely not going to do well, and it's very likely going to not be a good movie. Like he screwed over DC with the Joker.
Hey, I will say this though. So I watched that movie House of Gucci that Ridley Scott directed, and when it starts out, the first 30 minutes, I'm bored out of my mind because you got Lady Gaga and Adam Driver. They're just doing whatever the fuck they're doing, and I was bored out of my mind. And then Jared Leto pops up, and his first line is like they're playing football or something. He gets tackled, and like Al Pacino's worried about him because he's the son of Al Pacino, and Al Pacino's like he's like Paolo or something like that. And then the first line out of Jared Leto's mouth is Pow! And like the moment he says it like that, he's acting so over the top goofy. I was like, okay, this is cinema. This
Okay,
is amazing.
same thing. He played a character in and the movie that I believe was when HBO Max was releasing the movies day and date theaters and streaming because of COVID and everything, and they made The Little Things.
Yeah.
I was born out of my mind, and then Jared Leto shows up, and I'm like, okay, I'm interested in his character. And his character, how he's like to the cops, I'll bring you to where you need to go. Come in my car. I will drive you. I'm like, this character is so stupid that it's actually entertaining. Sadly, Morbius never reached that level of bad. It
Yeah.
never reached that level of but that level of bad. It was just a very boring movie. A lot of people refer to it as like movies from like this felt like a superhero movie from like the X-Men times, like the early X-Men times.
Yeah.
Times.
Maybe
And
even
don't
earlier.
forget about that end credit scene with the Vulture.
God. Both post credit scenes with the Vulture, none of them make sense. Neither one. It's just God, it's so bad.
And it's like boom, boom. Both times they set up the Sinister Six, it fails.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Morbius more here in just a little bit, because I have it not too further much down, but there's one I have slightly above it just because at least there was like I think one entertaining scene in it. I wasn't entertained at Morbius, but like there was one entertaining scene in this one. That's why it's above Morbius ever so slightly, but still an awful film. And my number 8 is Moonfall.
Ooh, I'll be talking about that later on as well.
Yeah, I was not a fan of Moonfall. I like thought this film was like it had promise in the sense of you had a film called about the moon falling to earth, and their worst mistake was they made it serious. You're making a serious film out of this? Like what? You think this is high art? No. When you're making a film called Moonfall, all I want is that moon falling, destruction. That's all I care for. I don't care for anything else other than that. And whenever I had a friend spoil for me because I didn't really care about the film. I didn't even see it in theaters. I watched it when it was on HBO Max. I had a friend spoil for me the twist in the film. And when he said the moon is an artificial intelligence computer or something like that, I was like, stop right there. I'm sold. I am sold. This sounds ridiculous and I can't wait. And then I watched it. That scene should have been laughably, entertainingly bad. But no, there's like a serious guy is like, the moon had a life of its own. It's like a smart computer AI. I was like, why are you talking like you're in the Matrix? Like, why are we acting so serious right now? Like, come on. What is happening here? It was so bad. And then the lines of dialogue were so bad. There was only one line. There was one scene that was like entertaining. I died laughing for like 5 minutes straight when it happened.
What scene is it?
It's like a log is on top of this person's friend or something like that, like a tree or something like that. And he's like trying to lift it up. He can't do it. And like the moon's coming, like the moon will help us. And then the moon like comes by and it like blows the tree off of the person or something like that. And I died laughing. I was like, that's what this whole movie should have been.
There is a scene
But
towards the
it's so
end,
unfortunate.
which I'll tell you about in mine,
Yeah.
that I feel is on par with that.
Oh yeah. I'll have to hear about that. But like, that's what this movie should have been. Like, Roland Emmerich, the director, he did the film 2012, and that film, it's dumb. Don't get me wrong, but it's dumb fun. Like, that film is the definition of dumb fun because it's like, hey, y'all want a disaster movie? Here's disaster destruction. And you're like, yes, this is what I want. I want floods. I want tornadoes. I want the earth breaking and I want all that cool stuff. I don't want something serious for a film called Moonfall. Like, and the cast is so good too. Like, they wasted the cast of like Halle Berry. Like, what the hell was she doing in this? And also, what the hell was Donald Sutherland doing in this? He literally had one scene in this film. He like rolled in, it was like the best actor in this film. And then he was like, okay, he was like in a wheelchair. He like rolls in, talks like about the moon, like this to give us exposition. And then he rolls out and leaves. And I was like, okay, I guess that's the one scene we get of Donald Sutherland. Like, all right. And then Patrick Wilson's in this. It's just so like it's just such a bummer, because I this could have been something special, and it turned into utter nonsense. I should have expected it, knowing Roland Emmerich's latest work, like Independence Day Resurgence and a few other films and such, but man, I was not expecting it to be that bad. So, Moonfall is my number 8. What is your number 7?
Okay. If you want a bad movie, let's talk about a terrible movie. And that is a little film called Deadly Infidelity. Deadly Infidelity.
Mm-hmm. I'll be talking
Deadly
about that later.
Infidelity. It is a painful movie. Like, nothing is good about this movie. The writing is bad. The acting is bad. The music is bad. The editing is bad. The editing is bad.
Yeah.
I'll give it the twist I didn't see coming in. There was a few times that the story was legitimately like, I'm like, okay, in better hands, this could have been decent, in better hands. But this movie is terrible. There's a scene where this woman's at the hospital and she wakes up and her husband is there to see her after she wakes up out of her coma. She's like, "Oh, I'm so excited to see you again." and then there was this like editing thing where she's like dunk dunk or like something like that, and it was just such a bad movie, and the music was like stock music that like you could find like an app for like free.
Yeah.
For like free or for like a few dollars maybe, and yeah, the only thing movie that keeps this movie up this level is it is so laughably bad. It reaches the Room level bad. So I'm like, at least it's giving me some laughs. At least it's giving me that. But other than that, I cannot think of a good thing to say about this movie other than the story could have been better under good hands and the twist wasn't predictable.
Yeah. It's just, and this is a Lifetime movie. You and I,
Letterboxd couldn't even get the movie's title right.
yeah. It's like it was Deadly Infidelity, and then Letterboxd like called it Fatal Memory, which is so weird. It's like, well, what's it called? Is it called Fatal Memory or is it called Deadly Infidelity? Like, I don't get it.
If they if they cannot get the name right, then they are in trouble if you can't even get the name of your movie right.
Yeah, and so it was just absolutely terrible. Um, so uh, yeah, no, that one's definitely gonna be on my list here soon. But my number 7 is a film. I kept on going back and forth between two, but I'll say Morbius for number 7 because this film was really bad. But actually, no. You know what? I'll make Morbius 6. I'll say for right now for this list, it goes back and forth, but I'll say Follower. There's a film called Follower I watched. Again, it was 62 minutes. What is it with these 62-minute movies I keep watching that turn out to be utter dog shit? I was like, I'm going to watch a 62-minute movie because it's 62 minutes. I'm not wasting that much time of my life watching it. Oh my god! So this film is what it is. It's the synopsis says, and the tagline says, "Who is following you?" And it says, three friends on a backpacking trip find themselves stalked by a mysterious individual recording their every move. I wish that I was not watching their every move because they are stupid characters. Stupid characters. Like they're literally shouting like at one point they know that like they're being stalked or whatever. So they're like be like, hey, you want some? You want to come mess with me? And all this stuff. And I was like, what are you doing? This is not how you handle that type of situation. It's like, oh my god. So it's just they were so horrible. I didn't like any of the characters. The production value was super cheap. And I think the worst part of it is like when either the film started or ended. I forget when they did it, uh but they have a dedication to Toby Hooper, which is like one of the most iconic horror directors. They said dedicated to Toby Hooper, who I don't even think is dead. Let me look it up. Like, hold up. Um,
In dedication to Toby Hooper, we're sorry. We're sorry that we are making such a shitty horror movie.
Yeah, Toby Hooper's still alive. So and they were like dedicated to Toby Hooper. I guess they thought their film was on the same level of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Poltergeist or something, that they were like dedicated to Toby Hooper. And it's like, Toby Hooper should take offense to that. He should be like, no way in hell do I want to be associated with this movie. Who at all gave them any permission to dedicate me in this garbage? So it was just not good at all. This is the director James Rich. This is his only film. I hope it's his only last one he ever does, because this one,
if he does, he's gonna have to change his name to Alan Smithy.
yeah. Yeah, it was just, God, it was so bad. But that's my number 7.
Dedicated to a man that is still alive.
Oh my God, it's so bad. It's because, like, a lot of times it's like you get those movies that's like dedicated to my father. Thank you for making me into the man I am today, or something. And it's like oh, that actor's father's actually dead. Or you'll say dedicated to someone that was on the set who ended up dying while they were on the set. Or like with Wakanda Forever, dedicated to Chadwick Boseman, something like that. That all makes sense. Why are you dedicating this to a random nobody who you're not even making a film that feels like a type of film he would do? And then it's just, God, this was so bad. So that's my number 7. What's your number 6?
Number 6 for me is The Man from Toronto.
Oh,
and
yeah.
funnily enough, I don't think they ever talk about or go. I don't think any of the main leads are from Toronto, or they don't even go to Toronto. And
No.
let's start with the 2 leads, because this is the biggest problem. Woody Harrelson, great actor, but in this movie,
Oscar nominated actor, by the way. Let's throw that out there.
Yes, Oscar nominated. He's supposed to play like the hardened, like the serious detective, or the serious spy, the serious agent. Okay, he could have made him a lot more. He could have made him very, very interesting. He made him boring as hell. Like, he made a guy that I wanted to fall asleep to during this movie. Like, if I had to be around him. And then Kevin Hart played another character who he ranged from generally funny at moments, and then he would push a joke so far it became annoying.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't there a joke about food that he kept on talking about? Like, what was the food?
Oh God, yeah. I know it's
Was it like cheese balls or something?
something like that. It was yeah.
It's like, good. And for instance, let's do cheese balls. So it's like, you talked about cheese balls so many times. I'm like, why are you spending so much time talking about this? It was so bad. And then they do the really, really stupid thing towards the end, where you have the big fight. Okay, it's time for the big fight. Okay, big fight. Somebody else comes up. Okay, this person could be the big boss. So they take him down. Somebody else comes out. And we're like, who the hell are you? Okay, somebody else was supposed to fight. Okay, now are we? Oh, here comes somebody else. It felt like a runway of villains, and it's like, dude, and it's like, come on, I just want this thing to end already. Can we just have an ending to this movie? And the plot was forgettable as hell. Something about these bad guys got these codes or this device or something like that will destroy this world or destroy the city or destroy this town or something. I forget about this movie. It looked good, but it looked good. But by the trailer, I was excited to watch this, but it was just bad.
Yeah. It was. I was a little late to party on it. I don't even think, did I even finish it? I don't think I ever actually finished it, but I watched like a good chunk of it, and then I think I decided to turn it off just because I was like, uh, I'm just not digging this at all. So yeah, it was, it was not good. But I am on the list because I didn't finish it. But for me, my next one, my number 6, is going to be the one that the meme has made this film so much more unbearable. Because before the meme came out, it's like, yeah, this is a bad film. Now I don't want anything to do with this meme or with this movie. I mean, because of how just pretentious this meme has become. And that is Morbius. This film
It's Morbin time.
awful. Oh my god. Like, don't disgrace the name of Power Rangers like that, guys. Like, come on. Power Rangers is so much better. It's actually entertaining. Morbius is not. There was one scene in Morbius that was like kind of like a horror movie scene. I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. And that was it. It was like a scene when like it was like in that doctor that or like that laboratory or whatever, and the girl walked down the hall and you saw the lights flickering or something, and then you saw like him starting to like crawl on the walls towards her or something like that. It felt like a horror movie. You were like, ooh, okay, that's a little cool with like the shots and all that stuff. That's it. Nothing else in this movie was interesting.
And I for God you mentioned don't forget how Sony took the meme as, hey, maybe we should re-release this movie again in theaters.
Like, people weren't memeing it because they liked it. People were memeing it because it was so bad they were making fun of it. And the fact that they were like saying, "Oh, let's release it in theaters," and it bombed harder than it actually did when it first released, is saying something. Like, oh my god. And also talking about memes, the whole like dancing meme that happened because of Matt Smith dancing and doing all this stuff. Thank God he's in House of the Dragon, because now I can like actually think of Matt Smith in a good way now. Because oh my god, was that a bad performance? He was a very uninteresting villain. And like the one character that was interesting was Jared Harris as like their father, and they did nothing with him. Nothing. I was like, okay, he's like the only interesting character. I want to know about him. And they didn't let me know about him. It was just so forgettable, so bland. The movie just felt bland. And then, like you mentioned, the 2 worst post-credit scenes I've maybe ever seen in cinema history. Like, they retconned certain things that have already happened in these superhero movies. And it just made no sense to me. Like, Jared Leto as Morbius, he's supposed to be a good guy in the film, where they set it up that he's like the one fighting against evil. And then Vulture shows up. All of a sudden, without any hesitation, he's like, he's saying, "Oh, I want to build a team. I think we could do some good together." He's like, "I know a few guys," or something like that, or whatever the fuck he said. I was like, "What?" I'm like, "You were like a good guy this whole movie, and now what? You're like all of a sudden like, oh, I can like, I can help with that." It's like, I'm like, this makes no sense to me. So, yeah, Morbius was awful. Hated it, and I just, oof, it was terrible. Yeah, the Venom movies makes the Venom movies look good. My friend uh, J Man from Backtrack Cinema, go subscribe to him, guys. Says, "Hey Wolfman, what's up, brother? Hope you're doing well, buddy. It's good to hear from you." Um, but yeah, with that said, we are now in our top 5 worst movies of 2022. The stinkers that are the ultimate stinkers, that are like the ones we want nothing to do with, the ones that you see it in this picture, says you couldn't pay me to watch this again. Same way with this top 5. They are all horrendous. So, uh, let's start off with number 5. What's your number 5, Andrew?
Okay. I'm talking this is a movie that was already mentioned on this show, that the plot sounded so bad. It sounded like a Dr. Evil scheme. When the moon is orbiting Earth, I am going to make something that makes the moon fall and destroy humanity. And I wanted a fun movie. I was promised a fun movie. I was given an overly serious movie about this dude. Oh no, I made a mistake in the past. I need to redeem myself for the mistake that I made in the past as an astronaut. And I'm like, I don't want to see that. The only good scene in this movie that I loved was this. Okay, so there are these people in this car driving in this car, and you've got these terrorists or these bad guys shooting at them. And then there's one fucking idiot in the car. They're shooting at us. No, you don't say. What made you think that? And then for some reason, there is this chasm. There's this chasm pit thing, and the car jumps, hits a piece of ice, jumps to another piece of ice. That is the one scene I'm like, okay, that's good. This is good. I just wish the rest of this movie was like this. And this movie was overly long. It was over 2 hours long. And then yes, what you described, it felt like the Matrix. Like the moon. The moon was actually an AI. Came here years ago. I'm like, I don't want this. Make this fun. Make this fun. And at least cast fun people to play these roles, like I wanted to see Arnold Schwarzenegger talking in a bad Austrian accent, stuff like that. Not the moon. The moon is eccentric citizen being.
Like
And
it sounded like he was asleep the entire time when he was mentioning that. It's like they brought someone off the street who was sleeping, and they woke him up, and they're like, "Hey, we need you for like the day. Can you film this?" He's like, sure, but I was in the middle of my sleep. Okay. It's like, here, just say we're gonna hold the script behind the camera. You just have to say this. It's like, the moon is a sentient being that is an AI, artificial intelligence thing. Came here years ago. It's just like it sounded like he was like trying to.
You did a better impression. If you did that in the movie, I would have liked that scene. The moon is an AI. And I'm gonna tell you more about this right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like
Like us
part of
making
it
fun
is
of it
like
is more entertaining than the actual movie.
it's so it's so bad. Like that's like when you can have us giving you guys professional filmmakers better ideas, you know you're doing something wrong. So yeah, it's it was just a terrible film and one I just regret watching. Like these films lately, it's like these disaster films, like Greenland is the one example where it actually worked doing like family drama with uh disaster stuff. But like usually when you give me something like Geostorm, I don't want like a political whatever the fuck. I want the Geostorm. Give me that. And then there's like, oh, we'll give it to you in the last act of the movie. Really? And then it's like you give me something like I remember I watched a film, it had Morgan Freeman and Elijah Wood. I watched a film called Deep Impact with a buddy of mine. He was in the mood for a disaster film. This is a film that was made like in the 90s or something like that. And he's like, he turned to me, he was like, Michael, I said I wanted a disaster movie, not a good movie. And so I'm sorry. I was like, trying my best. It was just like that's what I felt like this was. It's like you did not give me the disaster in a disaster movie. And for that, it's unforgivable. Like there's some genres where you can do a few things. Like for example, with a with a comedy, I mean, not a bad comedy, but with a comedy, you can make mistakes. Like you can have like bad acting. You can have all that type of stuff. But as long as you
A plot that doesn't make sense.
yeah, as long as you're making me laugh, that's what matters because it's a comedy. A comedy is supposed to make you laugh. With a horror film, you can have bad acting, you can have bad, a plot that doesn't make sense, you can have all that stuff. As long as you're giving me scares or like, making me feel uneasy or something like that, you're doing your job. And that's good. With a disaster movie, if you give me, you can do everything else wrong. You can have bad writing, you can have a plot that doesn't make sense, you can have all that stuff. As long as you give me an entertaining disaster, then that is something, then you're doing your job right. They take disaster movie and they're like, no, we're going to give you a film that's a disaster. We're not going to give you an actual disaster movie. So that's how I felt with Moonfall. It was terrible. My number 5. I'm going to touch on this very briefly because you already mentioned it. Is Deadly Infidelity, the Lifetime movie. I thought this film was horrible. Uh, it's a Lifetime movie. It was like the first major film that we watched in 2022. And we were like, oh, what a way to kick off 2022.
Hooray!
And then it turned out to be a good film year, but it was not a good sign when this film came out. And I remember it was like during a time I was like, I'm gonna watch every single release that comes out, or at least try to catch every single 2022 release. And then I watched this one. I was like, okay, maybe not every single 2022 release that comes out, because I hated this film so bad. I was like, I don't think I could put myself through this too many times. So I was so I totally backtracked that idea and just decided to watch one bad Lifetime movie instead of all the bad Lifetime movies that year. But But yeah, it was not good. Uh, it was laughably bad though at parts. I will give it that. It was laughably bad at, at certain aspects, but other than that, it was it was just not good. But yeah, going into our top four are four films that absolutely piss me off. And I mean they piss me off. These films make me upset, angry. And we're going to get into it. I'll have you say your number four, but your number four and my number four are actually the same. So
It's the remake
yeah,
of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
same here.
And there was some really bad stuff. And I knew that it was bad as soon as we got to one scene. So they're being pulled over by these cops. The cops are like, hey, we noticed something suspicious down there, there's some scary stuff. We're gonna give you this thing with our name and number on it. And the guy takes the paper. Okay, we have your paper. Thank you for giving it to us. I'm like, why do you need to say we have your paper? We saw the transfer of the paper. You do not need to say that. Just say, okay, thanks. Okay, we'll let you know. Or something, and then just keep on going. Going. And this main character, I don't remember any of the characters' names. All I remember is the black guy. So the black guy, yeah, I believe he's like wants to like run a business or something, And but he bought this property, but this property has a Confederate flag on it. So he goes in there. This old woman is still living in there, and they make this guy look like the villain for kicking this old woman out. I'm like, okay, so are you telling me that nobody knew that he bought this property? No, but nobody knew. Like there was no interaction between him and somebody doing the transfers and everything. So this old woman, she should have been removed from this property forever ago. Either that, or did this guy go from town to town to town? Okay, we're gonna kick you out now. Kick you out, kicking people out of houses and yeah, and this is the one movie where I'm rooting for the killer. I am rooting for the killer to kill everybody off. And then we get to, in my opinion, the dumbest scene of the year. So there's this bus full of partiers, and the killer comes onto the bus, standing there, all scary looking,
With a chainsaw in hand.
chains on hand. What does everybody do? Takes out their cameras. Of course, pulls out their phones. I'm like, killer, kill them. Kill every last one of those SOBs. Like, you guys deserve to die if you're gonna do that.
Yeah. And I get it that like the film was trying like there was they were trying to do, but like they were so bad. Like they brought in some politics into this film at some point. Like there was a scene where the guy had the gun or whatever uh in his pants, and the girl's like, I've seen bigger, and then rolls up the window and then drives. I'm like, okay. And then it was like that was such a forced line. But then they don't even bring it up again. Like I'm like, okay, if you're gonna implement politics into this, bring it up again. They
And the
had this
Confederate flag.
the Confederate flag scene, like you had a black character in there. You've like had one scene of it, and you don't bring it up again. I'm like, what's the point in bringing up political stuff? And I think they're like trying to be like, oh, well, look at these people. This is how society is on their phones all the time. I'm like, then why do that? Like you're not bringing it up again. You're not making it a central part of the movie. It's just there. It's so bad. And then
Oh yes, I want to mention another scene. Apparently they brought back the same character from the original movie.
Yeah, okay.
So
I'll talk about that part because I've seen the original film, and to me, the original film is arguably the scariest movie ever made. I
can
think
I
that
can I can I tell you about one scene that she had? That to me felt like the dumbest movie, that the dumbest thing ever.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the two lasting people at the two lasting of the cavalcade of characters in this movie get into this woman's car. They're like, we gotta go, we've gotta go, we've gotta go. And she's like, no, I've got to end this. You stay here. Don't leave. Don't leave. Whatever you do. So she goes in, fights this monster. Less than 2 minutes later, she looks at them. Leave. You gotta go. I'm like, what? Can we rewind what you said a few minutes ago? Don't leave. No, leave. Like, pick a side. Pick a side.
And then also like when she goes up to him, she caused him so much trauma, so much pain, and everything. And she stands there with a shotgun in her hand, ready. She could like shoot him at point blank range right there and save us having to watch the rest of this movie. But instead, she just stands there. He like looks at her, nods or something, and then he walks off. And it's like, what? I'm like, why? You would not like you've been hunting down this guy for so many years, and you are like doing this. Okay, and like my biggest issue is like going back to the original film. I think it's the scariest movie ever made. The film was very effective. It was very horrifying. Sally was a great character, and then they bring her into this film, and they just do the Laurie Strode copy. What she should have done is she should have been instead of a Laurie Strode copy, she should have been like one of those like guidance counselors or something like that. And she should have been like someone who helps victims of trauma. And because the other girl dealt with a school shooting, there should have been a scene with Sally trying to help her face the trauma that she experienced with the school shooting. And then it's so interesting that like this girl is facing the school shooting. She hates guns, all this stuff, just to pick up a shotgun at the end of the movie and use it on Leatherface. That makes sense. What? And then also, when the film opened, I already knew it was going to be bad because there was like a documentary or something our main character was watching on TV, and they had footage from the original movie. There was no camera guy in the original movie. How did they get footage from the original movie to be on that TV or on that like news broadcast or whatever it was? Like that made no sense. It was so bad, and this movie just like it was offensively horrible. And then like they like the way the girl she like uppercuts uh Leatherface with like a she uppercuts him or whatever with the chainsaw, and it's like it was so bad. And then and you're right, I didn't care about any of the characters. They all could have died and I would have been okay with it. And then they did the whole copy at the end where he's like swinging the chainsaw around like it's like I get like that. But and then the one good character that they had in this film, they killed early. The blonde girl. She was like the only one that was like a decent human being. And then they killed her off early. And it was like, wow, okay, now I don't care about any other person that's in this movie. And Elsie Fisher, it's so unfortunate because I love Elsie Fisher as an actress. She's a great actress in like eighth grade and Barry and a few other things like that. But it's just she was not good in this movie at all. I just the more I think about this movie, the more I hate it. My friend hated it even more. He like literally acted like Sally at the end of the original film, laughing hysterically after it was over, but like a not good laugh. It was it was a psychotic. I can't like he was literally becoming psychotic from watching the movie. And there's an actual after credit scene in this film too. And
Oh, I didn't see that.
the after credit scene is just a very quick thing. He's walking back to the original house. I'm like, you're telling me the original house would be intact that many years later and it would be like that good? Like it did not look like it had any damage on the house, nothing. It looked like a brand new house. And this was like 40 something years later. And the house looks as beautiful as any brand new house. It was so dumb. So I was not a fan of this film at all. I had I had a couple good like scenes of cinematography. Like the cinematography looked nice in a few places, but that was it. Everything else was like terrible. And absolutely hated it. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is your number 2.
Yep.
Dropbox.
You mean Dashcam?
Dashcam. The lead in this movie, number 1, hands down the most annoying character in the whole movie. And they don't even kill this person off in a horror movie.
Maybe the most, or you could argue the most annoying character in cinema history. Like she's that annoying. It's
okay. They make her a anti-mask, Trump-loving Republican, and they don't even try to, say, hey, let's give her some humanity, not all Trump supporters are bad, not all anti-maskers are horrible humans. No, they're not. They don't even go that direction. They make her the most cookie cutter, the most predictable one, the one that you could ever find. And this is the first of 2 times I'm gonna say this, but to everybody that has seen Friends, you remember the character Janice who talks like this? The whole movie. Oh my God, Chandler Bing. Oh my God, this woman sounded like that. Nasally. And like her voice was annoying. And Chief was making all of these jokes at the wrong times. Like the be running away from that guy. She's making a sex joke. She's making a dick joke. She's joking about splooge and cum when this killer is after her. It's like, do we really need to talk about this now? Do we really need to joke about this now? And this woman basically a superhero. She survived shit that she shouldn't really be surviving.
Yeah.
And arguably, this is probably the worst movie of the year. But there are 2 more that I just felt even more passionate about.
Yeah. It was really really bad. And we're gonna get to Dashcam here again soon because like I said, it is my number 2. Spoilers for the list. But my number 3 is a film that I watched in hope that like the premise, the idea of it was great. When you hear a film, first off, with the title, because of the way the slash goes in the title, they slash them. Like it's 2 contexts, like they slash them, but also pronouns like they slash them. It's like 2 different kinds of way. I'm like, okay, first off, that's already a brilliant title. And then 2, a slasher at a conversion therapy camp. Yes, kill all these homophobic bastards. I want this. And then you give me a film that turned out the film itself was homophobic, which was like, oh my God, it was horrible. As someone in the LGBT community, I took straight up offense to this film. It's so weird because it's written by like a 60-year-old gay man or something like that, as far as I know. I could be wrong, but I think it is. But I guess he's showing his age because he does not understand today's world. Like, maybe he understands how it was back then, but not how it is today. Like, he does some awful stuff. Like, he makes like, there's this twist where there's this character who is like an informant for the conversion people, the camp counselors. And there's one like person that is like bringing in the people to try to be converted and show how bad they are. And it's a trans person. They make a trans person into a bad human being like that. They did a twist like that. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You are making a film that's supposed to honor these people, and you just made such a transphobic thing that made me so fucking pissed at this film that I hated it. And then it's like, and then not only did you get that, but like there was this, so like I was hoping that the film was going to be gays, non-binaries, bisexuals, trans, whatever you are. I was hoping it was going to be those type of people killing camp counselors, but instead, it's like the killer is like a counselor there that apparently used to be one of the students or whatever back years ago, and was like, and is upset at what these counselors did to them. So they disguised as a counselor and they were killing off other counselors. But the worst part of this film is it's a slasher film. There's a kill at the opening of the film, and then that's it for a long period of time. This film almost forgets it's a slasher film. Actually, I think it did forget it was a slasher film at one point. It becomes this like drama on the gay experience, on the LGBT experience, when in reality, this is just some offensive dog shit. And it's just like, I just couldn't get, I just could not get through this. It was horrible, hated every second. So they slashed them. I will say this: Kevin Bacon, obviously you hate him because he's someone who works at a conversion camp. You obviously hate his character, but as far as performance goes, Kevin Bacon at least did a good job. That's all I'll give it. Everything else, this movie can just burn and rot in hell. There's a musical number in this movie. There's an actual musical number in this movie that's so out of place, makes no sense, and they're dancing like they're in a musical. They're all like doing all these like weird wild dances, sliding on the floor like they're in a musical, and it's like, what am I watching? This is a slasher film. I'm like, why am I watching them? I like musicals, but I'm like, what? I think even you would be like, why am I watching a musical number in a slasher film about this? Like, what? It's so weird, but yeah, absolutely hated it. So they slashed them as my number 3. And what's your number 2?
My number 2 movie, I pulled this as number 2 because this is a sequel to a movie that I have been waiting years for that. I have such a soft spot for the original movie that this one just felt like a crime. This one, but this is even worse than a bad movie because I know how good the original was. The movie I'm talking about is Disenchanted. This was a made for TV movie. This is what it felt like. It felt like a Lifetime original movie, or like a Disney Channel original movie, except the musical numbers were good. I loved the musical numbers and the singing. The singing, all the actors are trying, and it's the original people. It's like, come on, you could have given us something so much better than this. And you had like 10 years to write this. Even I watched this movie and I'm like, Mike Myers, I do not know if I want to see him make Austin Powers 4 now. This was so criminally bad. Like, I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I never got around to watching Disenchanted, but it's just because I saw the trailers, and to be honest, the trailers didn't really do anything for me. But
Even the trailers I liked, I was like, oh, yay! Yay, I'm excited.
yeah,
I'm excited. Me and my girlfriend had special snacks. We had Christmas cookies. We had magic pajamas. We had everything
oh,
for this
that's
movie.
great.
That part was amazing, but everything, but the actual movie was awful.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate because I love that first Enchanted film a lot,
Yes,
and
this and Glass Onion were for my two anticipated sequels. All I'm gonna say is, thank God, Rian Johnson. Thank God you actually made a sequel. That is my favorite movie of the year.
yeah, it's
Because honestly, November could have been my least favorite movie month of the year if it was as bad as this.
yeah. So thank goodness for Ryan Johnson saving November. Um, my number two is one that we just mentioned, dash cam. Yeah, this film is atrocious. There's not even a dash cam in this film, by the way. The film is called Dash Cam, and it's all filmed from like a phone. An actual dash cam is a camera you hook up to your car so you can see out the dash. That's not ever in this film. Why they call it dash cam, I will never know.
This
It's
should be up there with the man from Toronto never having anything to do with Toronto.
exactly, it's so dumb. And then, or like Jason Takes Manhattan, where it's like, oh, he's on a boat the whole movie. It's a boat heading towards Manhattan, but he's not like in Manhattan until like the last scene of the film. So it's like one of those type of things. And it's so unfortunate to me because Rob Savage, the director, he did one of the like most intense, scariest movies of 2020, which was Host. I watched that film on like Shutter, super effective, very horrifying at times. It was very well done. Um, and then like when he was making this, the found footage genre can be hit or miss for me. Host was filmed on like a laptop, so I kind of count that as found footage. That was a successful one. Uh, and then this one came out, and oh boy, was this just oh boy, was this awful. Like we mentioned, the character in this movie, um, I don't even remember fucking names. So I'm trying to remember it here. Her name was Annie Hardy. So the actress's name is Annie Hardy. She plays a character named Annie Hardy, and apparently Annie Hardy is a right winger, anti-vax Trump person in real life, and she played that kind of character in this. And I felt like I understand if he was trying to have some like social commentary or whatever, but you could have at least instead of saying like laughing at Annie Hardy in real life, they're like, look at how awful she is. Look at this. It's like you did not have to make her so unbearable, you know? Make
You could have
her
given her at least an ounce of something
yeah.
memorable.
Look at the movie Defy Bloods. When when oh, I'm blanking on his name. Uh Ross would know. But the guy who was nominated who or should have been nominated for the Oscar that year, uh he played a Trumper in that movie. He wore like a MAGA hat, all this stuff. But because of what he saw in the war, it implemented that into it, and you understood why he felt that way. It was one of those things where you're like, okay, I don't agree, but I can understand why he feels this way. And they wrote it in a way that was like that. With something like this, it's just sort of like, hey, look at this person. They're a Trump person. Let's make fun of them. They're awful. Oh, and it's like, okay, but like, why do you have to give us the torture of having to hear her constantly say shit that is so stupid and like spread her agenda? Like, God, this movie was you had a you like there was a scene in this, like you mentioned, she kept on making jokes throughout the film. There's a scene in this where they're like trying to rhyme with the word orange. So they're making like rhymes that like rap rhymes. It's like your rhymes are so bad it makes my ass cringe. And I was like, what? That was a line of dialogue? like it was so bad. And
I
and
would
like
rather die than have some. I would rather die in dysentery than have a vaccine put in me or something.
it was so bad. And like I under God, and like I would go as far to say she was maybe the worst character I've ever seen in any movie ever. Like that's saying a lot. I watched a lot of films, guys. I've watched a lot of cinema, and this may be the worst character I've ever seen in any
It's up
movie
there.
ever.
It's definitely up there for me.
Like, God, she was horrible. The only redeeming part, or not redeeming, there was nothing redeeming about this movie. The only part of this film that was like, okay, that's kind of interesting, is the creature effects. Because, like, this creature demon thing or whatever that's after them, when you're able to see it, by the way, because the camera's like, oh, 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 this is the camera the whole time. And I'm like, oh my God, like, can you please hold the camera still for like 5 seconds? Oh my God. When it's like actually, when you're able to see shit, the creature looks kind of interesting with the practical effects that they did and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like the only thing this film has going for it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else about this film is dog shit and annoying and just unbearable. And this is like torture sitting through this and watching it. I'm amazed I even sat all the way through it. It was so bad that like I watched a review and a reviewer said something about how like the ending credits, I don't know what they did during the credits, but he said, "Oh yeah, what they did during the credits was pretty cool." It literally was so bad. Right after it ended, I like just shut it off immediately. I closed out my computer, I shut it off. I was like, and I like slammed my laptop closed. I was like, oh, oh. I didn't even watch the entirety of the credits. Like I didn't even watch even the credits. I saw the part where she's like sitting there in the car bleeding. She's like saying this rap. She's like, "Yeah, I'm rapping. You know, I'm about to die, but I'm rapping. Yada yada yada." And I'm like, I was like, "What are you doing?" There's a way better film this year that it's also a found footage film, uh, called. Oh dang it! What was it called? But it's almost the same premise. Um, in a way, Deadstream. That's what it's called, and it was on Shutter, and it's like Evil Dead meets Host or something like that. It's about this guy who like goes to stay in a haunted house, and he's like a popular web YouTuber guy. He goes to stay in a house for overnight that's like super haunted, and he comes across uh these like demons or whatever, but they're all like goofy demons, and it's like satirical and funny, and yeah, his character's annoying, but it's like the whole film is a satire. So that makes up for the fact that his character is annoying, because you know it's making fun of him, and you know it's making fun of a lot of different stuff. If they did something like that, I would have accepted Dashcam. But they tried to make like a serious horror movie with this character who's making these awful jokes throughout. And it's just God. And also like it's so disrespectful to old people, because the way they treat the old lady in this movie, it's like that is very insensitive. Like, I'm sorry, but I hated it. Um so that to me is my number two. Now on to the film that is the worst piece of crap we've seen ever this in 2022. We wish to never see again. This like so terrible. And for me, well, no, you start off first. What's your number one worst movie of 2022?
My number one least favorite movie is a Disney Plus movie, Better Nate Than Never. I live and breathe musical theater, and you usually I am nice to musicals, and I'm like, I had fun with it, I had fun with it. I don't care if the Greatest Showman has bad this or bad that, or La La Land has bad this or bad that. I don't care. I love this movie. It was so good. The songs were so good. This was so good. This was bad. The lead child, I found to be a complete jerk. Complete like spoiled brat. Like I was not a fan of him. The songs in this movie were, I don't even remember a single part of the songs. I think it was probably involving a red carpet with paparazzi. That and like glasses. That is the most that I remember. And he goes like viral making singing or something. And the one memorable thing about this movie that I actually liked is Lisa Kudrow is in this movie, and this is how bad the movie is. I'm like, hey, look, it's Phoebe from Friends. She's getting work. Yay!
Oh my god.
That is the best part of the whole movie. The fact that somebody who's better than something else is in this movie and they are cringeworthy. That makes it a good movie. It just bothered me so much. And the kid has to pay. There's no punishment, no sacrifice that he has to make, no this, no that. Things just work out for him, This movie just bothered me to my core.
Yeah. No, I get it. I hate stuff like that. Uh who was worse though, the kid or the girl from Dashcam?
Oh, the girl from Dashcam, like the kid isn't as knowing her in general, and this is like still a kid. So you can say, oh, just a kid, a young little kid, where this girl from Nash Kim is a grown ass woman.
Yeah,
She's saying that. And she doesn't even act as childish as him.
Yeah. And it's
and she acts more childish than him.
Yeah, agreed. And I have not seen Better Nate Than Never. I really had no interest in seeing it. I love musical theater as well, but I had no interest in really seeing this one just because it looked really cheesy. But I thought, well, I felt bad because I'm the one that recommended it to you, thinking that I was saying to myself, I was like, oh, Andrew's gonna love this. It's about musical theater. I was like, Andrew, check out this film. It's about musical theater and all this stuff. And you're a sucker for musical theater. You asked me what films are available to stream. Well, here's one for you. And then you told me you like absolutely hated it. It was like the worst film of the year. I was like, oops, sorry, but hey,
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm having fun talking about it now. It was so bad.
I was like, hey, at least you spared me the misery of watching it. So
Yes.
I ended up not.
Yes. And if I can spare anyone the misery of watching this, I've done a good job.
You have. Well, I want to spare the misery of anyone watching Jeepers Creepers Reborn, my number one worst movie of the year. Jeepers Creepers, how'd you get those peepers? This film, so as you know, in September, I did my little scare timber thing I do all the time. And this year I did, what is that crackling sound? I don't know what that is. Okay, I think it's stopped. All right, there's a crackling sound happening, man. I don't know what that was. But this film, I covered all of them, all the franchise for my Scare Timber thing I do every September. And when it came to Jeepers Creepers Reborn, it just was not good at all. You know it's bad when like the one positive thing of this movie is the fact a pedophile wasn't behind it, because that's one thing about the first three is they were all directed by a pedophile, and the third one was the worst of those three because after he got out of jail, he was somehow allowed to still make a movie, and he directed the third film, and then this film happened pretty much just to take the rights away from him. And with all that said, this somehow may have been worse than the third one, which is like bad. This may have been worse than the third one. This film was god awful. There's a from like, and I get it. I felt unfortunate because it was like a Fathom Events release. I was there, and the director said COVID affected this movie for him, and I understand all that. But the thing is, you still can make a good movie. There were several directors who made good movies in COVID. Like, because COVID was so bad, he literally had to like take stock like video game footage or whatever and make it like the background of every scene. Like the CG of every scene or something like that was like stock old video game backgrounds or something like that. It was like awful. And then he ended up like
he should have just delayed it.
He I know he should have, and then he also like there was this big horror festival. Like that's the whole plot, is that like this guy and his girlfriend, I mean, is this guy and his girlfriend are going to this like horror festival. That's this like big event that's like everyone goes to. They all dress up. They all do all this stuff. I was watching specifically looking closely because I was so bored of the movie. I was like, I might as well just do this. There was like 15 people in that scene. This is a large horror festival. The world knows about it. The country knows about it. And it's like people travel from the country to go to it. It's like this huge, huge event. 15 people. Really? That's your huge event? Because it was COVID affected it, so they couldn't have that many people together. I'm like, you should have just delayed this then. Like, what the heck is wrong with you? For like, you're making a film where the whole plot is relying on this festival with a ton of people, yet there's like not a ton of people. And that's not even the worst part. The dialogue of this film. It's like there is a scene where like their gay friend who you literally only get on the phone once. Like he said, like he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to like go to the thing. I'm going to the party with you guys and yada yada." And he's like, "Can't wait to see you all." He like calls the girl right as he was like walking in the woods. He stopped his car on the way there to walk into the woods. See, this guy walks like a mile into the woods to go take a piss. I'm like, you're a dude. You literally can just go to the first tree you see and like unzip your pants and then pee. This guy walks like a mile or two away from his car to take a piss. And I'm like, dude, how far is your car? Are you even going to be able to get back now? Like, do you even know your way back? Like, what the heck? Like, dude. And then the worst part of it is he's like on the phone with her, and instead of saying, "Oh, I need to go pee, can you hold up?" He's like, "Now, if you excuse me, I need to go Tinker Tailor my soldier spy." That was an actual line of dialogue. He says it in like the most flamboyant, making fun stereotype gay way. He's like, "Now, if you excuse me, I need to Tinker Tailor my soldier spy." And I was like, "What?" I was like, I literally said out loud, I was like, "What the fuck does that mean?" Like, I literally was like, "What?" I was like,
Apparently means to pee.
apparently, I guess so. But I was like,
Good. At least one good thing you learned that from this movie.
I guess every time that I talk to someone now and I need to pee, I'm gonna tell them I need to Tinker Tailor my soldier spy. Now that I
We
know that
need
that's gonna be
we need to start saying that.
yes.
Now that we need to Tinker Tailor my soldier spy.
It's so bad. And then like another line of dialogue is her and the creeper are having the final battle of the film. She throws these like ninja star things, which I don't even know how the fuck she even got them in the first place, into the jeeper into the creeper's eyes. And then she's like, "How do you like those peepers, bitch?" Was that supposed to sound badass or something? How do you like those peepers, bitch? Okay. It was just, and the kills in this film were just so lackluster because like that guy, his kill was off screen, the gay guy or whatever. And it was like the kills were just so lackluster in this movie. The dialogue was horrible. The only scene that was like of note was when she was like cosplaying as a bunch of different characters, and she was like, I think she was like Edward Scissorhands at one point. She was like a hot Freddy Krueger at one point. She was like all these other characters. And then there was an actress in this film too. The very opening of this film. Um it was Dee Wallace. Dee Wallace is very famous actress. She was in like stuff like The Howling. She was in E.T. She was the mom in E.T. This girl, she's been in a lot of good, uh, like good movies. And so I see her in the opening of this, and I'm like, what are you doing in this dog shit? Like, are you what? Are you kidding me? And because it was a Fathom event thing, I think most of all, what made me so pissed off was the fact that I have Regal Unlimited, so I don't have to pay to see awful movies. Except this one apparently, because it was a Fathom event. So they don't let you use Regal Unlimited on Fathom events. So I paid a full $13 just to review it for you sons of bitches watching this stream. I paid $13 for you. That's how much I care about you guys. To sit down and watch this dog shit. And I was so mad I spent that much money to watch this. It was so unbelievably bad. And like when you were asking me about bad films to catch up on, I didn't even mention this one because like it's available to rent, and I was like, I don't want you to pay for it. Like it is that bad.
I did not want one to pay for that.
Yeah, it was this, and like the creeper looked horrible in this film. Um, like let me show you how he looks. Uh, Jeeper Creepers Reborn. Um, yeah. So how he looked in this movie. Trying to get like a good uh the good picture of him. Because a lot of his stuff is he's like I guess is the best picture they got right here, but I'll just show this off over my phone real quick. Um, but yeah, this is how he looks there, right here. He looks like a freaking cricket or a bug. Like he looks horrible. And whenever he takes the hat off, it looks even worse. And then compared to how he looks in the like the other film, like here's a good shot of him, right? Where was that? It was just I like just had it. It was yeah. So this is how he looks with the hat on and then with the hat off. Yeah, here he is with the hat on right here. And then here he is with the hat off. It looks so bad. Like, what even is that? And then like how the creeper looks in the original looked badass. And like I'm like, why didn't they just use that original design? I get it's like I get that it's from a pedophile, but like just keep that same design and do something different. This is how he looked the uh in the original film, and it was like much better. Look at that. That's much better. It's like, oh my god, like oh, like they massacred the creeper in this film. They just had awful characters I care nothing about. This guy, he was like such a horror fan or whatever, and then whenever he actually encounters the creeper, it's like he knows nothing about horror movies all of a sudden, and he's making all these dumb choices, and then it's like there's just and then they even reference the other movies. I'm like, okay, they're trying to like not they're trying to take this film out of his hands or whatever. Yet they reference the other films. Like at one point, they're like, they mentioned the creeper, and they're like, oh yeah, wasn't there like a movie about him or something like that? It's like there was actually 3 of them. Really? You're like just reference the films, and it was like it was so bad. So yeah, Jeepers Creepers Reborn, awful movie. Don't recommend it to anyone. whether you're starting out with a franchise, whether you are a completionist and you're like, well, I have to finish it. I'm a completionist. I watch every movie in a franchise. Don't do it to yourself. Just don't watch it. It's awful. And apparently this film is like they were gonna make 2 more of them or something like that. And I'm like, God, no, let this franchise die, please. But apparently they're not going to, so you're gonna have to live with more dog shit like this. Uh but yeah, that is our top 10 list between each of us, our top 20 list in total for the worst horror movie for the worst movies of 2022. This is just, man, such a disappointment uh that these films came out in such a great film year overall, because such a great film year, but with just stinkers like these that just wear
And
us down.
and we'll be getting more in 2023.
Oh yeah, and we'll definitely be back here at the end of the year to give you guys our best of 2023 and our worst of 2023. So you can definitely look forward to this again. Thank you, Andrew, for coming on. This was a total blast. I really enjoyed this.
You're welcome. I hope to come on this channel a lot more.
Absolutely, you are always welcome to come on. And in fact, you and I at some point, we're gonna plan it for another day, but you and I are gonna do a Megan review at some point, so that'll be really fun because we both have seen that. So you guys can stay tuned for that, and I will definitely have Andrew on for more videos in the future because you all seem to really like him. We really like him on the channel, so that really helps. And thank you all for y'all watching and supporting and subscribing to the channel, guys. It really means a lot. A lot of great content coming your way. Ross and I will be making some Golden Globes coverage. We're going to predict the Golden Globes winners and the SAG nominees tonight, actually, right after this. What is happening there? It's doing the same thing again. All right. I think it's good now. All right. But
I just like this a second.
okay. But yeah, so like this video, guys, subscribe, share, comment down below what are your worst films of 2022. I try to avoid the bad films, but we just ended up watching some very bad stinkers this year. And so we wanted to go on here and make fun of them and talk about them, but let us know down below what were the stinkers of this year for you. I would like to hear you guys talk about that and read all of your comments. So I will see you all in the next video. And until next time, stay classy, my friends.